This presentation is going to be about the construction activity pollution prevention prerequisite. It's applicable for new construction, core and shell, schools, retail, data centers, warehouses and distribution centers, hospitality, and healthcare, but we'll mostly be focusing on new construction. The intent is to reduce pollution from construction activities by controlling soil erosion, waterway sedimentation, and airborne dust. The construction activity pollution prevention prerequisite encourages construction practices to reduce their negative environmental impact overall. An erosion and sedimentation control (ESC) plan is required for all components of a construction project. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency created a general set of standards for all construction projects to help eliminate excessive pollution, which is called the Construction General Permit, or CGP. All projects must follow the EPA CGP or the local code requirements, whichever is more strict. These plans must detail how to prevent soil loss, sediment infiltration to water sources, and particulates polluting the air. The EPA has several permits to help reduce pollution due to construction sites, one of them being the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, NPDES Permit. This permit limits the amount of pollutants discharged into U.S. water sources, such as stormwater systems. It also requires monitoring and documentation of the pollution prevention practices. Ultimately, it helps to protect the public, water quality, and aquatic health from unnecessary pollution. All projects must comply with the CGP requirements or local code requirements, whichever are stricter. For the CGP, there are 3 sections of requirements, the first one being erosion and sedimentation control. Some of these requirements in this section are minimizing sediment track-out, controlling discharges from stockpiled sediment or soil, minimizing dust, preserving topsoil, and protecting storm drain inlets. The second section of the CGP is stabilization. This includes deadlines for initiating and completing stabilization and criteria for stabilization. The last section is for polluting prevention. It includes prohibited discharges, general maintenance requirements, pollution prevention standards, emergency spill notifications, and fertilizer discharge restrictions. Now we will discuss the steps necessary to obtain this prerequisite. The first step is determining the responsible party for creating the ESC plan. This usually falls on the civil engineer of the project. However, in some cases, it can also fall onto the hands of the hydrologist, geologist, contractor, or builder. Step 2 is to compare the EPA Construction General Permit with the local codes. If a permit is required, follow the CGP and an additional ESC plan is not needed. But if a permit is not required, determine if the CGP or the local codes are more strict and use whichever one is more stringent to create an ECS plan. And then depending on which one you pick, you have to use different documentation for both situations. Step 3 is to evaluate the site for an ESC plan need. Not all of the ESC measures may be necessary or applicable to your site, so you have to perform a site evaluation. A simple one identifies the slope of the project site and where the water will drain, the total area and duration of the ground disturbance to identify air quality and rainwater runoff that will affect neighboring properties. The location of existing rainwater management systems has to be protected during the entire construction. Planned construction sequencing that may require additional ESC measures over time later on. And then weather and soil conditions that could cause rainwater runoff or generate dust. And then construction entrances and their erosion and sediment effects on local roads that will be near the project site. Step 4 is to design an ESC plan. All the sites are required to have a unique one for the project that follows the requirements of the CGP or the local codes. The ESC is usually a part of the project specs or plans, but if it's not, you have to create your own. All sites must complete the Prereq requirements, even sites with little or no exterior site disturbances. If the project already follows the CGP, another ESC plan will not be needed.
Step 5 is to apply the ESC plan. Before starting construction, ensure that the methods are in place to execute the plan. Generally, it's the general contractor who is responsible for the organization and continuation of the plan, but it could be the builder or the superintendent on the project. Site inspections are also required throughout construction, and you have to document maintenance activities that establish a way to control the execution of the plan. Inspections must be documented regularly through timestamp photos or videos and reports. The picture on the screen is an example of ESC measures in a plan. So you have like inlet protection, tree protection, just things in general that will help better the construction site. You want to keep the documents up to date and saved for LEED certification purposes in the future. If any issues arise, they should be resolved quickly and efficiently. And if any deviation from or failure of the ESC plan occurs, the responsible party should be notified immediately by anybody on site. And one of the reasons that everything is going into the ESC plan is to keep only rain going down the storm drains. Some of the related credits within the sustainable sites are site development, protect or restore habitat. You want to implement an ESC plan that limits site disturbance on greenfield areas such as vehicle traffic, grading, equipment storage on those areas. And a greenfield area is an area that is not previously developed, graded, or disturbed and could support open space, habitat, or natural hydrology. The other credit is rainwater management, and for that you implement an ESC plan that minimizes soil compaction where vegetation will be planted or where infiltration measures will be installed, and this is to support reducing runoff volumes. With the ESC, tracking is implemented by a plan narrative, and this just means you're keeping records of everything that happens throughout the construction. It's a narrative description of the plan. Implementation should include the timing of it, specific control measures that were applied on site, maintenance protocols used to ensure the proper function of control measures. And then at the bottom of the screen, that's just the regular points for the LEED system. And thanks for watching this video. We hope you learned more about construction activity pollution prevention.